Do you get tired of hearing bad news about the economy and job market all the time, making you feel like you have no control over your life? Is it important to you to have a sense of direction and purpose, free from fear and doubt? From personal experience and a trip from darkness to light, this podcast shines a light of hope. In its spoken words, you'll learn how your thoughts can change your life and how they do that. Learn tried and true ways to get rid of negativity and spread happiness, and use even the smallest amounts of doubt to fuel your interests. You can think of your mind as a sponge that can soak up both good and bad things. What will your life be like if you fill it with bad things? This audiobook will show you how to take control of your life and move it in a clear, forward way. You'll learn to shape your world instead of just responding to events if you learn to control your thinking. Always keep in mind that if you don't move forward, you're going backward. Use the power of sound and words to take back control of your life's journey and steer your thoughts back in the right direction. To change our way of thinking and live a more happy life, we must first understand how our thoughts work. Are you aware that one thought or choice can completely alter the course of your life? I remember that when my wife and I were dating long distance, ouch, I know, we talked about problems we were having but didn't really get to the point. One day, my wife gave me a question, more like an ultimatum. She was done talking about ex-boyfriends and other small things. Shortly after giving it some thought for 5 seconds, I agreed to drop it, and the problem was fixed. That wasn't where I wanted my thoughts to be. That split-second thought choice changed my whole life. I moved to her state, got married, and we began our life together. To be happy, successful, and enjoy life, we need to understand the part our thoughts play. People want a lot of the same things. People want to be successful, rich, happy, and stress-free. The key to making this happen has nothing to do with money, celebrity, or how many friends you have at the country club. It's about what we think about and focus on, and the things that happen in our lives are directly linked to the feelings we have. What we think about, focus on, and try to get all materializes right in front of our eyes. You will get out of life what you think about and focus on the good things that bring you peace, happiness, and joy. Several times in the Bible it says, "A man reaps what he sows." Whatever you think about will come back to you, whether it's good or bad. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Positive thinking will help us move forward as an example of Newton's law. Media, books, papers, friends, family, and co-workers are just some of the places where people get ideas and thoughts. Even people we don't know, like people we see at the store or on the street, can have an effect on our minds. Focusing on and thinking about things shows us where we want to go. Thinking about nothing will make us nothing. It's a good start to change the way we think, to be aware of the bad effects in our thinking life, but that's just the start of the path. It's not as simple as it sounds to take charge of your feelings. That feature is not available on any app. It's not too hard, though, once you get used to doing it. There is something true about practice. It makes us better at what we do. Furthermore, you will begin to enjoy the process when you witness your positive thoughts easily coming true every day. When you take charge of your thoughts, you take charge of your life, because everything that happens to you is caused by your ideas and thoughts. Your thoughts are just a sneak peek at what's coming up in your life. Image a movie trailer. Though you don't know the movie's exact plot, you have a good idea of what it will be about. The same is true for your thoughts. The way you think shapes your world. If you think bad thoughts, feel scared, paranoid, etc., those things will manifest in your life as bad things. Starting to see how strong your thoughts are. In reality, no one else has more power over your life than you do. You can make this power stronger by taking charge of your thinking. Then, you can start making your world the way you want it to be. You are in charge of your life, and can change everything that happens to you. Do not let the world of social training take over your life. It's not a good idea to give in to the urge to be normal. Who gets to say what is normal? In the old days, people thought that they had to fit in or die. When dinosaurs roamed the earth, we had to stick together in groups or we would die. Today, that line of thought has made it to the present day, and everyone likes to fit in. It's hard to fit in because most people can't control their thoughts, or more importantly, their lives. The chances are you've already mixed, which is fine. You can now think for yourself without being swayed by lies or the mass media. Get back in charge of your ideas, actions, and mind. Taking charge of your thoughts is the only way to find true bliss and long-lasting happiness. It's not necessary to go through the steps every day. Recreate the life you've always wanted. Remember that thought alone has the power to change your life forever. After each lesson, there will be a time for questions and answers. It's just to make you think and remember some of the difficulties of the theme. How often do you visualize where you want your life to go? Which of these thoughts do you think is the strongest right now? Do you believe that you are a good person? If you can get past criticism, fights are easy, as George Foreman said. That's my gift. I let that negativity roll off me like water off a duck's back. If it's not positive, I didn't hear it. A telegraph operator had a thought one time. He came up with this idea because he didn't want to believe what was really going on. There were ways that the world could be different with his eyes. Rather than fitting in with the people around him, he told them to fit in with him. He saw beyond what was to what could be. Rather than just using gas lamps, he thought there should be another way to provide light. It was Thomas Edison. Was it the thought itself that was valuable, or the fact that he did something about it? Did he have to think positively to keep going and see it through to the end? Most probably. A lot of things can be destroyed by negative thoughts. Physically, they can drain people's energy and stop them from achieving in life. The scary thing about negativity is when it makes you think you're not good enough to get out of your problems, so you give up. People aren't sure what to do about bad thoughts. Negative people are thought to be the only ones who are affected by pessimism by most people. This isn't accurate. There's a dangerous place to be after the poor me point of view. Everything is fine. This is where a person accepts reality, thoughts, and life as they are without wanting to grow. When someone has no dreams, goals, or other things that drive them, they just go through the motions every day. Their job makes them happy. It pays enough. They put some of their money into low-risk investments, and they take a few vacations a year. The people are happy with their lives. Although being happy and pleased with life is a goal, it's not ideal to be happy and stop growing mentally at the same time. Stopping to learn and move forward in life is the same as going into sleep. Don't live until you stop growing. Thought bug. I know enough. What can a person do about the negative things happening in their life? In some ways, they have to reshape and rethink who they are. Aside from you, no one else will think you're amazing. Having faith in yourself is what keeps bad things out. The world is full of bad things, but there are also good things. So we shouldn't just throw up our hands and say, "Screw it, I'll accept negativity." Instead, we should say, "My life is moving forward, even though the world is falling apart." We need to know how important our minds are and keep the garbage out of them. It's very important to keep the negative gremlins out of our thoughts. As kids, we used to sing a song that went like this. Be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. The idea behind the song is that we need to keep ourselves safe from bad information that doesn't help us in real life. Don't get me wrong, I like knowing what's going on in the world, but it's been more than 2 years since I last watched the news. And would you believe I've been told about all the big problems? I heard everything from the major news outlets without even listening in. Facebook and my co-workers read the news for me and tell me what I need to know. One reason I don't watch the news is that I know all of them are making money. I understand that they are trying to make money, and I am a part of that money. So they will do whatever it takes to get more people to watch. What's going on is business, not personal. I remember that when I stopped watching the news, I was pretty scared, feeling like I was missing out on the world. But after reading a few online news stories, I realized I wasn't missing anything. I actually felt like a big weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Before I stopped watching the news, I thought it didn't affect me and that I just liked knowing what was going on in the world. In fact, though, I was giving my mind a lot of information, and most of it was bad. Right away, it was flushed out of my thoughts and away from the way I think. In order for the change to stick, we have to replace the negative that we get rid of. If you leave a gap, you need to fill it with something else, or it will collapse. I got rid of the news by reading the Bible and listening to radio and lectures that made me feel better. This made me more likely to have hope and see the good in people and things. It's important to replace a negativity chunk as soon as it's gone so that the change lasts. Things that happened to us in the past can deeply plant negative feelings in our minds. People who had a hard childhood were told over and over, "You will never become anything," or "You will never make anything out of your life." Some people felt this as they were growing up, even if it wasn't sown. Those who grew up in these kinds of places will have to get over the hurts they've suffered and start over. If you're still thinking about problems from your past, just try not to think about them. Listening to inspiring speakers talk about success, life, and other things is a great way to fill in the blanks. Even if you didn't have a hard childhood, you can listen to whole books, talks, major speeches, and other things on YouTube. The internet gives you access to a huge range of tools and choices. Although bad people are always around, they do have a place in our lives. Many of them can be taken out of our lives, but some won't go away, and you won't want them to. Life's highs can't really be enjoyed without the lows, the pain, and the sadness that come with them. There would be no high points in our lives without the bad things that happen. Life would be perfectly average, with no highs or lows. Being like that is not what life is about. There are many ups and downs and different kinds of events in life. We need to lessen the bad things as much as possible if we want to win. Have you ever met a bad person? Probably you have. Not so positive people are awful to be around. There is someone in every group that is always negative and drains the energy of the occasion. We have to go on the attack because we have to fight that bad energy with good energy. The way other people act is out of our power, but we can keep our minds from being swayed by their bad thoughts and actions. A lot of bad things can wear you down, and some people may stop being friends with those kinds of people because they understand they weren't really friends to begin with. You'll find that many of your friends, family, co-workers, and other people will be against the changes you're trying to make as you start to adopt these new habits and become more aware. A lot of people don't like change, which is completely normal. But you have to go through change to grow and develop and to guide your life in the way you want it to go. When we make the choice to improve things, we change our lives for good. Asked and answered. How often do you feel like poor me, getting stuck because of negative people in your life? Do you know anyone who is negative? Do you believe they had an effect on you? Step 3. Let the good things come in. People look at the bad things they can't do. I always look at the good things I can do, said Chuck Norris. How long ago was the last time you thought about things you wanted? People don't usually think about their hopes, dreams, and all the good things they want to achieve in life after they are kids. Instead, we only think about our problems and become overwhelmed by how hard it is to solve them all. In fact, the thought of being told to think a little more happily makes us cringe. I've been there, and I remember telling myself, "You have no idea what I go through." This way of thinking makes it hard to find answers and think positively. We need to understand how important it is to think positively and ahead. Allowing positive thoughts into our minds and realizing that some people have good things to say can help us start directing positive energy into our own thoughts and lives. Does this mean that if we think positively, we won't have to deal with the ups and downs of life? No. The path to positive thinking includes bad things that happen. In fact, it needs them. They will not be gotten rid of, but they will be dealt with in a different, better way. We need to be able to stay cheerful and see the best in every situation. An old proverb says, "If you're going through hell right now, don't stop." Every day people face problems and battles. Not so much what happens as how we choose to act and think during those times. Our thought life and what it's made of shape how we choose to react. When we think positively and believe we can do something, that attitude will carry over into our real-life scenarios and experiences. Everything that comes into our brains is processed. We need to make sure that it's handling good and useful knowledge. You'll change the way you think and become a more upbeat person if you feed your brain good thoughts. If you stress out about the problems in the world, the problems with the Joneses down the street, and how the price of gas keeps going up every day, you will live in a very different reality than someone who thinks more positively. We need to break free from the bad things in our lives and bring in the good things. My biggest problem with bad thoughts was that once I started thinking about them, I couldn't stop. The more worrying the problem was, the more I wanted to know more about it, and the longer I would think about it. I was giving my brain nothing good to eat by focusing on troubles. Right now, here are some things you can do to start taking charge of your thoughts and putting more good things into your life. Think about and name a bad thought or feeling you have. If you watch news, you might need to think about it for a while. Think back to some of the stories you heard recently that made you feel bad and skewed your thoughts in a bad way. Now go down another level. What exactly did you think about when you felt that disturbing or painful emotion? Think of someone or something that makes you happy now. Write that down, and then write down something that makes you excited about it. You can either feed your mind the good things in life or the bad things. These choices are put in front of us every single day. And while humans are generally very good at enjoying life, we don't seem to notice a lot of bad energy, so we accept it. We can think about things that aren't important for hours on end, but we don't spend nearly as much time on the things that are. Our minds are already being fed. What kind of mental food do you eat? Is affirmations. Saying good thoughts and ideas out loud to yourself, or maybe even to other people, is an affirmation. Tell yourself it in your head if you can't say it out loud. Technically, it's not the same, but you are still telling yourself things. Another good affirmation is telling yourself a daily positive statement every day or whenever you feel like it. It's possible to change the way you think and feel for the better with affirmations. Watch your thoughts. If we want to change our lives, we need to start paying attention to our thoughts and be ready to change them. It's best to write down bad thoughts, tear them up, and throw them away. Change your negative thoughts and ideas to positive ones. To get a handle on your ideas, you should first step back and watch them. What come to your mind? Are your thoughts making things harder or easier for you? Realizing how you think can help you start changing those ways of thinking. You can switch out bad thoughts for positive ones. This can make you feel better about life over time. How well do you know the term wishful thinking? What do you usually do when you have a problem or a bad thought? Believe you can manage your thoughts. People think something is valuable if they have to pay a lot of money for it. There is more worth in something when you pay more for it. We don't have to pay a dime to get our minds and thought life, which are the most important things we will ever own. This is something that needs to be seen. This life is going in the way that our ideas and knowledge are taking it. For positive growth to happen, the level of consumption for the good must stay above the level of consumption for the bad. How often do you run into problems that stop you from thinking positively? Did knowing about the workings of your mind help you see how powerful it is to think positively? How often will you think about letting good things come in? Figure out what's good and bad. Step 4. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. President Abraham Lincoln. We need to know what we're seeing in order to tell the difference between good and bad. In real life, our brains often handle too much knowledge too quickly and skip over a lot of it. These things happen because the mind is busy with big tasks that need a lot of resources. Small tasks are often blocked out and put to the side. It's like when you get up and walk to a different room. You are not thinking about putting pressure on your foot on the ground to stand up, and you are also not thinking about every part of your body as you stand up and start to walk. We would live in a very different world if our minds were that slow. Remember when you first learned to walk? Most of us have seen a child learn to walk, and they keep falling over while they try to balance, stand up, etc. It is important for the child to pay full attention to this learning process. Your brain cuts it out and focuses on more important things, like where you're trying to go or what you're trying to do, once you've learned it. Our brains are programmed to filter out the boring things in our lives, which is great when it works, but it can be a problem when it leaves the good things in our lives out. So, we need to push good ideas and thoughts into our mind. When we're exposed to more good things, we'll be better able to see the good in the world around us. What I call a color crayon on the floor is a very extreme case of negative and positive. When you're thinking negatively, you might keep thinking about things like someone fell or my kids don't clean up after themselves. But when you're thinking positively, you might see the crayon and think about how fast your child or children are growing up, and then look at the wall full of pictures of mom and dad. After that, you smile and make the quick 3-second move to put the pen back where it came from. Physically, both situations were the same, but in the mind, they were very different. Realizing the good things in life is pretty easy when you're thinking positively. It all depends on how you look at it. You have to look at life from a different angle and see the value in it, instead of just the pain or trouble. They think there's nothing good in their life, which is a usual misunderstanding. They think that things are the worst they've ever been, and that they are the unluckiest person in history. Watching and observing the people you love is a great way to find good effects in your life. Keep an eye on how they talk to each other. You can tell it's good because they'll show love, smile, and be full of energy when they talk. Find times in life that make you feel good, even if it's just a stranger at the airport seeing their family. Appreciate the ties and relationships that people have. You can be thankful for everything in your life if you take the time to appreciate other people just for being human. When you're thankful, more good thoughts and effects will come into your life. Encourage good behavior in yourself and others, and you'll be amazed at how much good it can bring. Life has times that make you think positively, and you can use these to help your positive thought engine keep going. These things happen all the time, so getting ready for them is easy. Since you know something good is about to happen, you can get ready and make plans to stay happy and make the most of the time and good vibes you have left. Here is a list of some common things that make us think positively. A raise in pay, marital status, cash advance, the weekend, achieving graduation, additional benefits, new child, the birthday. When these huge waves of happiness hit us, it's simple to smile and keep a happy attitude throughout the events, but a lot of people don't try to hold on to them. The trick is to keep your mind on all the good things that are happening during the experience. During the experience, if you can, talk about it, and keep talking about it after you leave. Take shots and videos of these events to help you remember them better. Getting ready for things and making the most of them is a great way to keep your positive thoughts going. There isn't much work needed to find the bad things in life. It shows up on the evening news, in talks, in our personal lives, at work, and even in our churches. One way to spot negative is if you don't have or trust anyone. Lack of hope and trust is another reason why it's a simple enemy to beat when you face it straight on. It may sound like a scary scene from a war movie to go head-to-head with the enemy, but it's not at all like that. There are always good and bad things going around in your head. If someone wants to talk to you about something you know is bad, try to change the subject right away if you can. You don't have to do that if you think it would be rude or don't want to. To add positive thoughts to the talk, you could also bring up a good point of view on the subject at hand. People who are thinking, "poor me," or "the world is so bad," will agree, or at least be quiet if you say something positive. A good example would be a talk about politics, gossip, what the government is planning to do, or something else whose result depends on what happens in the future. As discussions tend to go in these directions, it's always a good idea to take charge. Instead of talking about what-if scenarios, I like to ask, what insert politician is thinking about doing have to do with your life at all? The usual response is, well, they're probably going to do this, and then we're screwed. To which I reply, well, what are you going to do about it? I don't mind if people are interested in and aware of world events and issues. The trouble is when it takes over your whole life and makes you worry about all the what-ifs that could happen. It's strange that most people who worry about what-ifs don't even belong to any groups that are trying to fix the problems they worry about. The world's troubles are not ours to handle. It's our job to make sure we vote for the right people. You can join a group and promise to help if you want to. People who always think about all the problems in the world are bad for positive thought. Everything in the world is messed up and always goes a little off track. For more information, read the Bible or history books. It has happened before. We don't need to stay away from these people. We just need to be careful not to talk about things that make us feel bad. The odd bad day happens to everyone. Though these days come and go, if we're not careful, they can turn into the worst day ever. Here's a short list of things that often make people angry or sad and can make your day worse. Watery milk. Getting into a fight with a pal. Had a bad day with hair. April 9th. Losing a job. Political issues. Passing away. It's possible and recommended that you make a list of the good and bad things that set off your anxiety. There's no need to make this list and keep it in a certain place. Make notes and read them later. Sometimes you have to be reminded that these triggers can change your life in a big way very quickly. Finding these causes will help you guess what good and bad things will happen in your life. Your list of positive triggers can help you get back on track if your thoughts wander. This could also be used with shots of fun trips and times in your life. Bringing up a good memory will help you feel better if you focus on it the right way. You should stay away from the negative causes so that they don't make you think or feel negatively. Thinking negatively is so bad for you. Negative thinkers don't work through their problems and find solutions. They just sit on them and never move forward. You can't think badly until you stop and think about what's wrong. Any good ideas for how to solve the problem would break the negative train of thought free. This negative thought limbo will last for a long time if the person doesn't want to or have a reason to think happily. If you feel stuck in a negative box with no way out, all you have to do is move. This will change your state of mind. Smile and get up if you're sitting down. Changes in your body position will help you get out of a bad mood. Consider spending less time with people who are always negative if the friendship feels unhealthy. Pessimists are people who think negatively about things. The pessimist's only goal is to make people question and fear things and keep them from achieving anything. They also always think the worst will happen, but never actually get ready for it. A lot of people, including me, have felt down at some point in their lives. The cynic lives in a skewed world that is caused by believing negative thoughts and having bad habits. The main goal is to stop negative thinking from becoming a way of life. We can't do this because bad thoughts make us less capable and less in charge of our lives. You can try to avoid negativity all you want, but it will always be there in some form. You might want to put it in a mental box and leave it in the corner instead of killing it, which you can't do. Keep problems at work and don't bring them home. If it bothers you at home, put it in your home box so you can keep working while you're at work. These are some common mistakes that can be fixed to stop the negative spiral. While your car was breaking down this morning, the world didn't end. Planning ahead is important if you want to keep working. Don't waste time and energy stressing out about your problems. Fix the problem and move on. If you think about the problem for too long, it will make you feel worse. Don't be unhappy about your job every day. Do something about it. You can do something. Changing jobs, starting your own business, or getting better at your job are all options if you want to move up in your current job. In order to reach any of those goals, you need to stay upbeat. A defeatist mindset tells you that you can't work anywhere else, that you can't start your own business, and that your skills are at their highest level. That narrow way of thought will always hold you back. Instead of telling yourself that the other person's problems are to blame for your unhappy relationship, think about what you can do to make it better. Relationships are made up of two parts. Trying to control someone all the time will only lead to failure. Do what you can do inside yourself instead. Even though these choices may seem obvious, it can be hard to keep your feelings and thoughts in check when you're in the middle of them. It will help you figure out the good and bad mental triggers for the rest of your life if you learn to recognize when your thoughts start to wander. The situations and triggers you use might be different from the ones I described in this chapter. Take some time to write down what makes you feel good or bad about different parts of your life. No worries if your list is short. Later on, it will get bigger. Make a list of the things that make you angry and the things that make you happy. How often do you watch the ones you love cited, and are you going to do it? Should you make a list of the good things that happen in your life? Are you going to get away from the people who are making your life bad? Step 5. Ask for permission and refuse. I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. Bill, the comedian. Everyone in the world has the same special gift, the power of free will. In our lives, we can all make choices. That power gives us the freedom to choose when to say yes and when to say no in any given case. Knowing when to say yes or no is an important part of taking charge of your thoughts and the way your life is going. It can be hard to make these choices, but they're sometimes important to get where we want to go in life. We make time with the power of yes and no. Time is more valuable than money, and we could all use a little more of it. In your life, how many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to? You may have wanted to at first, but changed your mind later. You may have done it anyway because you felt guilty. Everybody has been through it at some point. You could say no. Have you ever missed a chance because of a no response and then felt bad about it later? Not only is being the yes person harmful, but it can also lead to a lot of worry and feelings of not being good enough. Being a yes man or woman all the time is bad because it makes you too thin in many areas. You lose your attention and stop doing well in one area. No matter how many times you say yes, the people you say yes to always seem to want more. In our hearts, we all want the people we care about to be happy and say yes to everything they ask. It's not about saying no to someone we care about. It's about realizing that it's worse to say yes and then not do what was asked of you or get angry while doing it. You should never say yes just to please a friend, boss, or co-worker. If we want to move forward in life, we often think that working longer hours, doing more work on the weekends, and taking on too much are all ways to do that. Although this may work sometimes, it's not the best way to advance in your job. When your boss asks you to stay late one day for a project at work, that's an example of a situation where you might want to say yes. At first, staying late seems fine, but after a while, everyone expects you to stay late. It's very important to say yes at the right time. If we make a mistake, we can quickly dig ourselves a hole. You wouldn't lose control of your life and time if you said something like, "I'd like to, but my wife owns me after 5 p.m. How about we find some free time during normal working hours?" Or, "Yes, I can stay a little later tonight. Let's talk about how often to schedule, etc." Even though you work for someone, they don't own you. That's right. You're still in charge of your life and can make choices. Having clear rules and limits for the people around you is important. But it's hard not to cross a line when you can't see it. I don't think most people cross lines on purpose. In some situations, you have to say yes in order to get the good things you want to happen in your life. When you say yes to your life, chances that you didn't know existed start to come your way. Please pay attention to how much I stress saying yes to life, not to your boss, not to a friend who needs help, not to a stranger. In some situations, you should say yes to those people, but in the end, you should say yes to your own life. There are other doors you didn't know about when you open one. When you decide to say yes to good things that come your way, you're giving your mind good things. You're also making good changes in your life. Once you can consistently think positively, you'll be able to find more good opportunities to say yes to. What should you do if you need to think about something before you decide what to do? Spend some time thinking about and processing it. Generally, the bigger the choice, the more time you should give yourself to think about it. You might think this is a bit much, but if we knew how many chances we were missing, we'd take our time and make sure we were making the right decisions. Folks often don't realize what they missed if they say no to an invitation and don't take part in the activity. The way most people think and live tells us that the word no means something bad. Most people think of it as being mean, rude, or even cruel. When you say no to the right thing at the right time, you're really saying yes to your own life and yourself. You're saying yes to being in charge and no to being ruled. For example, your boss might ask you to come in this weekend to finish a job. You were going to go out of town, but it was easy to change your mind. What are you doing? You choose to live your life instead of working. You should not always say no to work, but you need to find the right mix for you. Actually, you are the star of your own show. When to say no is very important and can often make or break our lives. As an example, the following situation is very strong when combined with the power of thought, but it only lasts for about 5 seconds. As a student in high school, Jimmy thought it was time for him and Sandy to have sex. Sandy was asked by Jimmy if she was okay with that. Even though she didn't want to, she said yes, and then asked, "We don't have a condom. Should we be worried?" Jimmy told her not to worry. Jimmy and Sandy's 5 seconds of talk changed their lives forever. Later that night, Sandy became pregnant. On that night, Sandy and Jimmy chose the wrong times to use yes and no. They could have changed the course of their whole life if they were more in touch with truth. They didn't, though, and their lives will never be the same again. Our future is shaped by how we think, or how little we think. You don't need to give a list of reasons when you say no. From what I've seen, it can sound like a bunch of lies and tell the person you're talking to that you're not sure about your choice to say no. Depending on the person or the setting, they may ask you why you're saying no. Later, if you want to, you can give the list of reasons after this. It will be different because they asked for it and are getting what they asked for instead of just getting it. If you can help it, don't use emotion and feelings when you explain your reasons. The person who hears them might not feel the same way. Simply say what you need to say and move on. Don't worry about the people who depend on you always saying yes, being mad at your new behavior. You'll understand that you may have been nothing more than a tool for them to get what they wanted the more angry and distant they get. Saying no is very helpful, but you should be careful not to use it too much. Changing from a yes person to a no person will take away the power and flavor. People will think you're not stable and always absent if you use it too much. You might miss out on opportunities you really want because people think you're not ready to do anything and won't even try to talk to you. That's why you should be careful when you say no and give yourself some time to think about it. You can react to events and talks more quickly as you get better at finding chances. If you put in some time and thought, it's not hard to find chances for yes and no answers. In reality, the sun rises every day, which means that choices need to be made. These choices, some easy and some hard, shape our lives as we know them. When we choose a yes or no answer, it changes not only our lives, but also the lives of the people we deal with. In the end, saying no could help you meet someone who loves and accepts you for who you are. You could end up with someone who only wants what's best for them if you say yes. The words yes and no have a lot of power. Pay attention to the chances you have and make the best choices you can. How often do you agree to something even though you know it's not good for you? Have you thought about when you might say no to a request and yes to your life? Just how often are you going to say yes to yourself anymore? There will be many times when you can't stay away from the bad things. It is important to take in more good information than bad input. So, when bad thoughts come up, we can handle them because most of our thoughts are good. When you think positively, you naturally behave positively. If you look hard enough, you can find these good things. Just some of your time is required. The cost is worth it, though. Getting good feedback from people you care about is the fastest way to do it. The people you love will usually feel good about you, giving them love and kindness in return. To get more positive thoughts about a certain goal, look for the good things that are inside and around that goal. Start learning about how to start a business in a bad economy if you want to start your own business but can't because of the bad economy. Using Google and YouTube in a good way can help you reach your goals and fulfill your wishes. These good things boost your confidence and help you create the future you want. Your mind will turn that image into reality as it takes in the positive reinforcements. The key to where you want your life to go is in your thoughts. Simply give it good juice. It sounds bad to take in negative information, but it doesn't have to be all bad. You'll find a rock the size of your fist if you take in the criticism instead of letting it take over you. When we're going through a tough time, we tend to get stressed out and shut down our information sensors. That's not the right way to do things. We need to use the negative as fuel instead. It's true, even though it sounds crazy. I can give you a great example from my own life. If you're trying to build a business and are short on rent this month, you have two choices. You can allow this flaw to kill you and fill your mind with doubt and fear, or you can use the issue or problem as fuel. You use the problem as fuel when you think, this is exactly what I want to avoid. I want to make sure this doesn't happen in my life. This is fuel to move the business forward. The funny thing about issues is that they generally get fixed on their own. I've had money problems before, but they never killed me. Once you learn to handle a bad thought, feeling, or event, you can use it to move your life in the way you want. Positive energy isn't always as strong as this fuel. We have power over the problem when we can take in the whole thing, and we can use that to feed our emotions. We don't run away from problems when they happen. Instead, we look at them, try to fix them, and eat them up for sustenance. It's a strange idea once we get past the problem, but I've used it to guide and fuel my life, and it works great. People are motivated by passion, and that passion needs fuel to keep going. What do you love? What are your hopes, dreams, and goals for your life? They help us see what we want to achieve more clearly. When we are having bad feelings and thoughts, these goals often seem silly and out of reach. Our way of thinking guides our lives, and the choices we make show how we spend our money. If someone wakes up just in time to grab a coffee and go to work, where they sit at a desk for 8 hours, and then comes home and watches TV until bedtime, what do you think they're digesting? According to what we know, they are drinking coffee. In their minds, though, they're blocking out chances for good spending. They don't have time for themselves in the morning before they have to go to work. They shut down in front of the TV and watch hours of shows when they get home from work. The TV gives us knowledge through the shows we watch, the news we listen to, and so on. All of those things feed our minds' thoughts and feelings, whether they are good or bad. Though you may feel disconnected, you're never really disconnected. Your brain is always taking in and making sense of new knowledge. Your mind processes and stores everything you think about, even if you can't remember what you watched on TV last night. That information was saved in your brain. The brain is an amazing tool that will be the most useful thing we ever have. First, we need to figure out where the junk is in order to get rid of it. We already talked about how to tell the difference between good and bad, so it's time to clean up and replace the bad with the good. It's been helpful for me to create the habit of playing with songs over time. A lot of the time, music makes us feel different things. Also, music has been shown to help clear your mind. Different types of music can make different people feel different feelings. I feel my blood pumping through my veins when I listen to music that is upbeat and positive. These feelings are welcome to me, and I'm fully aware of them so I can feel them more strongly. I am focusing on the music, which is why it makes me feel these things and boosts my good energy. Our minds will take in and remember the most what we focus on. So, it's important to think about the good things as much as possible. Being able to focus is one of the most important things you can do to become more upbeat. One more great way to take in good information is to learn. Pick something you're interested in and learn as much as you can about it. Read your Bible or any other holy books or history books you have if you are religious like I am. I personally read and studied the Bible for many months. I began to read it, but I couldn't concentrate for long and decided to listen to something instead. I looked for audio files, live lectures, and other materials on certain subjects I wanted to learn more about. It was something I would listen to for hours on end at home, in the car, at work, and virtually anywhere else. It kept giving me ideas, the good things. I was giving my mind helped me get out of the negative hole I was in and changed the way I think. I got interested in something and put all of my attention on it. Focus on a good thought, feeling, or experience when you come across one. That's a lot like putting gas in your car. That's not something you tell people around you. You have to think about doing it at first when you're a new driver, but after a while, it just comes naturally. As you focus on good things over and over again, you'll grow and it will become a part of who you are. You'll be drawn to helpful resources on their own. You can automatically start pumping conversations, and situations that are bad will become boring and it will be easy to avoid them. You'll figure out how to use this situation for fuel, as we talked about earlier, if you can't avoid them. We use the internet every day as another resource for consumption. Things that feed the mind are things like news sites, games, social media, and so on. There are some really great places on the internet that are great for finding good things, and then there are places that are really bad. And if you're not careful, you might end up with even more bad feelings than you had before. This is important to remember because when you're researching all the ideas and facts you're interested in, you'll come across negative articles and facts that are meant to get your attention so that you click on them. Many people on the internet think they were taken by aliens, that there are secret societies, and that the world ended in 2012. These people, groups, and stories keep us from being able to feed our minds with good things. This kind needs to be avoided. Skipping things we don't want to do doesn't make us weak. I once heard of a very wealthy man who had specific needs met every time he stayed in a hotel. He'd ask that candy and alcohol be taken away from his room before he got there. In this case, the person is successful because he knows what he can't handle and won't even have the temptation close by. He's not weak-willed, but he's protective of his best quality, his mind. He didn't want to seriously consider doing those things. As the saying goes, you are what you think. The thoughts you have shape your life. Everything you do and decide every day is a direct result of what you think. You will move forward in the direction you want for your life if you pay attention to your daily habits and keep the good influences coming in at a higher rate than the bad ones. Chance doesn't exist. It will definitely happen. People who are determined and aware of both the good and bad things in the world can steer their life in the direction they desire. The world around you will no longer affect you. You will take charge of it. Also, tell me how much time you spend letting negative thoughts and energy control you. Feeling like you need to change how you consume things. Did this chapter change the way you think about mind consumption habits? Step 7. Getting smarter. Michelangelo said, "I am still learning." How does the word learning make you feel? A lot of people immediately think of school and learning when they hear this word. People stop learning after high school and college for a lot of reasons, like this. Learning is the process of gaining new information and/or skills. There is no required school or institute that you have to go to in order to learn. Gaining knowledge is necessary to move forward in life and is therefore important. Why is it important to learn? You need it in all parts of your life, like work, school, relationships, sports, and more. It is essential for moving forward and getting better at things. How we think affects what we learn. It picks up new things and processes them to learn. We start to learn as soon as we are born, when we become separate from our mothers. We start to understand and learn things. We start out by learning how to breathe, move, eat, smile, and scream. The child learns to crawl, roll over, and eventually walk over time. Every time their child learns a new skill or ability, the parents are super excited. The brain teaches itself how to work and run the body, so these skills and abilities come naturally. No one teaches muscles how to work. It starts to be taught to the child when they start going to school, eventually finishing high school and college and learning how to speak, write, and do other things. Many people stop learning after that. You will need to learn in order to broaden your mind and improve your ability to think positively. You have to take in and think about positive things. Let your mind teach you how to be positive and enjoy life. As a baby, your mind taught your body how to walk, crawl, and think. Now, you need to let your mind teach you how to think differently. Being positive is a way of life. There is no pill or set schedule that you can follow to get the result you want. To expand your mind, you must first get rid of the dirty water, which are negative thought patterns. In the last chapter, we talked about how the mind consumes things. When we drain the dirty water from the sponge, it makes room for the clean water to soak in. This is an example of a positive influence. There are many places to find information that will make you think positively. If you have a computer or even a cell phone that can connect to the internet, this book can help you think positively. Getting your mind off of negative thoughts and on the right track is what it means. When our sponge has too much dirty water, there is no room for clean water. Take in and learn as much good information as you can. It's great to keep your mind on something good and get excited about life by listening to motivational speakers. Find articles and videos about things that have to do with business if you're interested in them. Get serious about improving your relationships if that's what you want to do. It's the goal of this activity to improve your mind and skills while also absorbing good influences. The more information you think about, the more your brain will take in, which will change how much you get done in life. If you can, write down important things that stood out to you as you read or did your research. After reading them again, it will help you remember those ideas. Tell people you care about and friends about what you're learning. By explaining the different points, you'll actually remember them. Some experts say that teaching is the best way to learn. Even though you don't want to bore your friends and family to death, talking about and mentioning important facts you learned will help you remember them. Also, you can keep talking if they seem interested. When you take in new information about something you're interested in, one way to broaden your thinking is to ask yourself great questions. AQ. What does an AQ mean? It's not about the weather, it's an internal question of awesomeness. Thoughts are deeply affected by it. You might be watching a motivational speaker talk about how getting up early can help you make more time in your day. As you watch the speaker, I hope you're already inspired and in a good mood. You tell yourself that getting up an hour earlier would be cool because you're probably excited. If you keep going, you might even wake up earlier for a while. The problem is that you have to give your actions a reason. You can find purpose, give it to yourself, and experience it by asking an AQ. You could ask yourself, what would I do with an extra 30 hours a month? What goals can I reach? These are great questions because they make you think about the future and make you work hard. Thinking about your life goals will help you deal with the pain of having to get up an hour earlier than planned. What drives you will help you soar, which will broaden your mind. It takes time and mental work at first, but it will become a habit over time. We have access to more tools and data now than ever before. You can get the resources for free, and they're also right at our fingertips and can be used in seconds. I once watched free online videos of a UCLA psychology class for the whole semester. If we look around for a few minutes, we can find a lot of useful information and tools. We should keep learning even after we graduate. It should be a lifelong process. How frequently do you discover something fresh? Have you thought about what you want to learn during this time? Are you going to start looking for ways to acquire knowledge? 8. Make a mental map of your goals. It's said that people who have goals are more likely to succeed because they know where they're going. The old story of Peter Pan says, "Think and you'll fly." This line may come from a children's book, but it has a lot to say to someone who wants to be successful and reach their goals in life. If you think positively and spend time thinking about your goals, they will come true. This line from Peter Pan is a metaphor for this. It's amazing how much our thoughts affect our lives. Our daily choices and future are affected by them. Our thoughts are what guide and direct us, whether they are good or bad. We need structure in order for our positive thinking to grow. In what ways can we set goals to improve our thinking? Given that our thoughts have such a big impact on our lives, is there a way to use them to move us in the direction we want to go? As we've already said, our brains are very strong. 3,000 to 1,800 words per minute is about how fast they can read. Now that we can process so much information, we need to be aware of the things that are affecting us. Many things affect us every day, like the TV shows we watch, the music we listen to, the words we use, the conversations we have, and most importantly, the people we meet. What is mental mapping of goals? This system is meant to help you make plans for your mental health. We need to know where we want to go and have a plan for how to get there in order to think more positively. When we believe in ourselves and know where we want to go, we can focus on the areas we want to reach and work towards them. It's like aiming a gun at a target. Aiming is needed to hit the target. You can't just point the gun at everywhere and hope that it hits the target. To get the bullet to go where you want it to, you have to point the gun. For any life goals you want to reach, you need to have a clear aim. Now let's go over some steps on how to set up your mental map of goals. Set the goal. When you set goals, don't be too general. As much as possible, try to be clear. Big goals like, I want to be a better dad, or I want to get rich, are not specific enough. Having those kinds of goals is like putting bullets in a gun and firing it without aiming. You have bullets, but you're not aiming at anything specific and don't know where they are going. One example of a specific goal is, I want to build a stronger bond with my daughter. I can do this by talking to her at eye level and paying more attention to what she says. This is an example of a specific goal that you can plan to reach. A different mental mapping goal could be, I want to spend more time with my wife in the evenings to strengthen our bond and give her the love she says she needs. These mental mapping techniques are useful for specific reasons that have to do with positive thinking. For the wife example, it would be because I would be a better husband, I would build a stronger relationship with my wife that I could show my daughter, and spending time with my wife makes her happy, which makes me feel like a better husband. The target keeps moving with the help of these good things. It doesn't end when the goal is reached. It goes on for life. You won't do A and get B. Instead, it's more like, while you do A, you get B. Start thinking about the goals you want to set so you know where you want to aim. Setting a goal and putting it somewhere, you'll see it is an old trick that works every time. I have that knowledge, but I'm going to add strategy. It's noteworthy. There needs to be something you can see to help you remember until it becomes second nature. In the wife scenario, you could put a sticky note on the computer screen so that when you sit down to work on a side project, you see the note and remember the goal. You have to train your mind to work toward these goals. It will get easier over time, and your goals will no longer just be ideas written on a piece of paper. Before you fire, aim, and then check the target to see how far you've come. If you want to feel like you're making progress toward your goals, you'll need to check on them, just like you do after firing a gun at a target. You probably check your phone's GPS or a map as you go to see how far you've come when you're trying to find a place. It's important to take this step because it will help you feel better about your progress. Realizing progression is an important part. You need to look at where you're failing and make changes if you're not making progress. It's normal to fail sometimes. It's where learning lies. For most people, failing is a necessary part of growing. If this step is giving you trouble, you can get help from someone else. Talk to people who are connected to your goals and ask them questions about the areas where you want to improve. You could leave a comment and see how they answer. Take the wife as an example. You could say, I've really enjoyed spending more time with you lately, and then watch the response and body language to see what they do. You'll get a sure answer that you can understand. The best ways to tell if you're making progress are to look at your own thoughts and feelings. Look at why you have the goals you do and see if they fit with them. As you go along, your reasons will become clear. One way to check your progress is to ask yourself, how far along am I in reaching my goal compared to where I was? So far, what successes come to mind? What kinds of problems have I had? How did I get through problems if they came up? Why didn't I get through the hard times? For making changes to the scope, it's normal for things to go up and down along the way. Do not give up because of this. If your goals change, don't let that make you feel like you've failed. You should see them as a step toward your goals. How you thought about a problem or goal at the start, when you didn't have any experience, will be different from how you think about it now that you're on the road. reading about riding a bike for hours on end won't fully explain it until you do it yourself. Repeat. Once you've reached your goals and are comfortable with your new way of thinking, it will be natural to set new ones and work toward them as well. We also never stop learning, and neither do our goals and desires. Life has a lot to teach us and things to seek out. Your success is completely dependent on how much you work at it. To take charge of your life and steer it in a good direction, you need to really want to do it. Mental goal mapping helps you make your goals a part of who you are. Start making a list of your goals and why you want to reach each one. Take the time to really work on them and make a plan for how to reach your goals. Keep track of your progress and go over the outline as many times as you need to. The things we think about are already real. Mental goal mapping is just a way to get our minds on the right track. Additionally, please answer, how often have you set goals before? Have you ever set goals before? How well did you do? Do you think that understanding the reasons behind your goals can help you reach them? Step 9. Watch out for yourself. Rule your mind, or it will rule you. H. Every time I read the word self-discipline, I picture a ninja who is a gentleman by day and a ninja at night. He can kick butt and call people names when the situation calls for it, but when he wants to, he stays calm, collected, and friendly. Your photo may be different. Self-control isn't something only ninjas should have. We should all work to get better at it. People don't talk about this trait very often, and it's never something people look for in a partner. Could you see a woman's dating ad that said, "Woman seeking self-disciplined man"? Although I can't, it's a quality I'd like to have. Being self-disciplined is made up of many things. Our main goal is to help you develop a self-disciplined mind. How does the mind of someone who is self-disciplined look? What does it have to do with the path to successful positive thinking? We talked about thoughts and how they affect the choices we make earlier. We have to do something else after making a choice. It's called follow-through. Self-discipline helps us do what we need to do to live the life we've chosen. Once the good feelings that came up during the decision-making process fade away, you'll sometimes feel hopeless. You'll ask yourself what you're really trying to do or achieve. It takes self-discipline to keep going when we want to give up. We don't always have self-discipline because we don't work on it. When things get hard, we don't give ourselves the chance to keep going. Instead, we duck out of the chance out of fear. Fear of failing is a big reason why our thinking life doesn't move forward. It's funny that failure doesn't make people care as much as we think they do. Self-disciplined mind is needed to keep your thoughts, focus, and goals in check. A self-disciplined mind doesn't mean you never take a chance. It means you weigh the risk against the reward. What if what I'm trying to do doesn't work out and I fail? What if I lose track of time and don't do it? These questions help you think about some tough choices you have to make in life. If you don't want to fail, it will always be easier to do nothing. To become self-disciplined, you have to learn to control your whole mind. There is no limit to your power when you have full control over your mind. If you have self-disciplined mental health and are in charge of your thoughts and feelings, you'll see problems and situations in a whole new way. What looked hopeless and bad at first now gives you chances to make good connections and get good results without having to think too hard. It is very hard to reach your goals if you don't have self-discipline. Your mind seems to be on autopilot while you sleep in the cockpit. Choosing to lose weight and live a healthier life is a common example of someone who lacks self-discipline. Unfortunately, the person will never be able to lose weight, even if they mean well. People who are trying to lose weight often stay away from certain foods like chocolate ice cream, bacon, or even a tasty cheeseburger. Others have trouble losing weight because they can't say no to unhealthy foods like the ones I listed. This is what happens when someone doesn't have self-discipline. Their failure to have that trait is the only thing stopping them from being successful. It will take you longer to finish bigger and more difficult tasks as you become more aware of your new ninja-like mind. There will be no problem, person, or thing that stops you from doing what you want and moving your life in the direction you want. You have the power in your mind. You just need to find a way to use it. When your mind is more self-disciplined, it will also be easy to sort. Through your thoughts, your mind will stay clear and ready to take in what it needs to, because the food you eat doesn't contain any junk. When people are disciplined, they are never late, and they always get things done quickly and well. There may be signs that you already have a somewhat self-disciplined mind. That's great. You're well on your way. To train your mind to be more self-disciplined, try to separate your positive and negative thoughts by focusing on the positive and avoiding dwelling on the negative. If your mind is too full of mixed-up good and bad thoughts, play some music to clear it out. In spite of other things you have to do, work on the mental goal mappings you've made over time. Set aside times to help you reach your goals, and if necessary, use an alarm or a calendar to remind you. Follow the steps in this book whenever you can. This will help you become more self-disciplined. One more important thing to remember about self-discipline is how important it is in conversation. Instead of waiting to speak, we can learn when we can hold our tongue and listen more. Just really listen. It's a great skill that some people find hard to learn. It's important to use the right words when talking to other people. One bad sentence could send someone into a downward spiral. Every word we say has power. The power of suggestion is alive and well in the things we say every day. Speaking positive words to ourselves or to other people changes our body language to be positive. To become self-disciplined, you have to keep your promises to yourself, your goals, and the people around you. There will be a weight lifted off your shoulders as you gain control of your mind. Do you think of yourself as a self-disciplined ninja? Why or why not? Want to? Are you going to be able to control yourself? In your daily life, are you going to be self-disciplined? Step 10. Have a ready mind and go. Vince Lombardi. The good Lord gave you a body that can stand most anything. It's your mind you have to convince. Your thoughts decide the path your life will take. People must seek after what they desire in order to obtain it. If you want to reach your goals and make your dreams come true, you need to have a can-do attitude. Whatever you believe, you are correct. Henry Ford said this, and it stuck with me all these years. It really shows how important your thoughts and manner of thinking are. Our attitudes and how we think about things have the most important effect on our lives. Many people are afraid to face their problems head-on, so they pass the buck and blame others. We need to take responsibility for our actions and see problems for what they are. Minor problems that will be solved soon. Most of the time, we can solve problems much faster when we can approach them calmly and think about them. For this reason, we don't waste time blaming each other, getting angry and crying. When we are careful in situations that could be bad, we can see them from different points of view. This can't stop things from going wrong, but it can help fix problems quickly. There is no way to avoid getting a big fat fail written on your forehead at some point in your life. Adopt it instead of being afraid and hiding your life so you never do anything great. Failure isn't the end. It's a time to think about your goals, ideas and thoughts and change your course. You are not a failure until you stop trying to get word. You should learn from your mistake and keep moving forward to get where you want to be in life. Fear of failing can make you think less clearly and make you miss out on opportunities. Make sure this doesn't happen. Instead, think in a way that helps you win. Being happy is a choice, and having a positive attitude is necessary for it. Situations can be tough at times, but you decide how to handle them. I remember trying to move my couch into an apartment that had a cement wall right outside the door with my wife. The couch was very big, and the wall made things very hard. It started to rain while we were dealing with the couch getting stuck between the wall and the doorway. There was clearly some stress in the air at this point, but I just smiled and started to laugh. It made things less stressful, and we were able to get the couch in without any problems. As stress builds and a sense of hopelessness sets in, you have a crucial choice to make. You can either react negatively or positively. Laughing can make people mad when they're stressed, but it can also make them feel better. Although it's a common saying, life is too short not to enjoy the ride. While you work toward your goals and dreams, take time to enjoy the process. So if you think, I'll be happy when, or I'll be successful when, you will set yourself up to fail. Once you reach your goals, something interesting happens. You set new goals and become more ambitious. This is why it's important to take it easy and enjoy the steps along the way. Staying in a good mood and frame of mind is important. Smiling will make people around you like it. Learning to love and forgive others is important for keeping a good attitude. People who don't forgive others hurt themselves, not them. Thinking about how Jimmy ate the last donut, even though he knew you didn't have one, will make you feel bad. Those are negative ninja stars that will make it harder for you to stay positive. I'm set. Provide people with the benefit of the doubt instead. Holding on to these small feelings will only slow you down and let bad thoughts enter your mind. Stay open to learning. The people you meet can always teach you something. Although they may not have anything intellectual to offer, you can learn from the way they treat you and other people, so you can see how other people live and interact with each other. Your attitude is very important if you want to think positively and stay positive in your daily life. Having a negative attitude and outlook has never helped anyone do anything great in their life. During those rough patches, remember this: when you have a positive attitude and a hopeful outlook, you can do anything. There is no one else in the world who can choose your path in life, and you are the key to having a healthy outlook on the world. If you keep a positive attitude, you will avoid the mental prison that a lot of people seem to be locked in. As you get better at keeping a positive attitude, more opportunities will come your way. The chances won't exist in your mind or in your life if you don't have the right attitude. You have set up mental maps of your goals, which will help you keep your mind on track. As you finish each goal and unlock it, you'll be able to move on to new ones that will really test your thinking. The quest to do well and get the best out of life never ends. You can take charge of your life instead of just reacting to things when you keep a positive attitude. Not putting out fires is what we should do instead. We should take the matches away from the kid in the dry grass field. Waiting for things to happen to you while you do nothing is a bad way to live and is just plain lazy. People sometimes call being idle being content. You can be content with your life while also looking for ways to be more aggressive. Keep your new positive attitude safe, because some people may be offended by it and try to stop you from reaching your goals. Being different from everyone else isn't a sign of bad character. It's just uncomfortable. People may change for the better because of your change. They may realize they need to change too and be inspired by your new outlook and life direction. That makes you feel good and helps you keep going in the same direction. Bring to mind the good things that have happened to you and use them to keep your positive attitude. The way of thinking is the big picture that holds everything together. While some days may seem long, this life we have is actually very short. There is no time for negative thoughts and pessimistic views right now. Negativity is something we can't completely avoid, but we can deal with it in a way that helps us reach our goals. Using positivity is what will keep us going in the long run. It's the fuel and life source that gives our thoughts and thinking life power. Our focus needs to be on good things if we want to get them in our lives. When we focus on the good things in life, they wash over us and help us see things more positively. Giving ourselves the chance to learn and being taught everything we can helps us see the world in a better light. We tend to share what we've learned, and when we share good news, we're teaching ourselves those good things all over again. Since we can't give what we don't have, it's important to get positive sources if we want to make the world a better place. When you go against the grain, you have to be mentally self-disciplined to get the results you want. Notice how everything fits together. Our positive attitude is made up of many parts that all work together. Every piece of the puzzle is important for positive thinking to work. These guiding principles and steps will help anyone think positively. We shouldn't let doubt or the fear of failing stop us from succeeding in life, and neither should the smartest people in the world. Whatever we think about shapes the way we live and where we're going. What is the frequency of your thoughts about the path your life is experiencing? Are you thinking of your thoughts as powerful right now? Do you believe that you are a good person? Failing upwards. The fear of what if is available as an extra chapter. Sometimes we fear failing more than not having what we want so badly. The what if game has been played by everyone at some point in their lives, whether they were in school or thinking about calling in sick to work. The game is played by everyone at some point. It's not a fun game to play, and it often gives you crazy ideas about things that will never happen in real life. In real life, playing the game can be risky, but if you do it right, it can also be helpful. Failure is a pretty scary card to have in what-if games, and if you're not careful, it can quickly turn a molehill into a mountain. What if I don't generate any income from starting that new business? What if I can't afford my mortgage? What if I can't provide food for my family? That's the point. Our minds naturally go to the worst possible outcome because they tell us that the risk is much greater than any possible reward. We think about all the bad things that could happen and put all of our energy into those thoughts. It's hard to even start the path to success when our minds are focused on bad things that might happen and failure. Our minds stop us in our tracks by playing what-if scenarios. People are afraid to take big steps in new, worthwhile directions because they think, what if I fail? The saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained, is true. If you never leave your comfort zone and try new things, nothing good will happen in your life. This is true when you're trying to reach important goals and dreams, like buying a new house, starting a business, or getting married to that special someone. No matter what the situation is, big changes and game changers can be scary and make you afraid at first thought. A lot of people are afraid of failing, and that's okay. The thing that really scares people is not failing itself, but what happens afterward, like being judged. After you buy a house and it has problems, you'll feel like you're not good at what you're doing. You may be afraid that the company will fail and force you to file for bankruptcy. The marriage ends after a year and is dissolved. What stops us is the fear of losing and hurting our characters. This fear is what keeps people from pulling the trigger. This line of thinking is flawed because failing is not a wall, it's a turning point. We have a lot of options when we know it's time to change direction and not time to give up. This time to pivot and not a time of defeat is well shown by the business Audio. They're probably not a company you know, but after the pivot, you will. Podcasting is the name of a product that Audio made that would turn your voicemail into an MP3 file that could be stored on the internet. The only problem was that they already had it in July 2005. Apple said that every one of the 200 million iPods they were going to sell would come with iTunes and a podcasting platform. Audio's CEO, Evan Williams, decided that podcasting was not the company's future. As soon as he made up his mind, he told his workers to start thinking of a new way they could move forward. The Audio employees started to think of and work on different directions the company could take. They held hackathons, which were competitions between employees to come up with new and interesting ideas that could help the company move forward with a new project. This plan to have employees come to the company and help shape its future led to the creation of Twitter, which we all know and love. TweetDeck was first called Twitter by Jack Dorsey, who created the service. Evan knew quite clearly that podcasting was not going to be their future. He was able to see failure as a turning point rather than a final defeat, not by throwing the towel into the ring and telling everyone to leave, but by changing the flow of things. Evan had the same doubts and fears that everyone else does from time to time. One of Evan's fears could have been that the company would fail and close down. They spent a lot of time, effort, and money making a podcasting platform that would never work. How embarrassing would it be to work hard on a project for a long time only to have it all go to waste? When we spend time on something that doesn't work out, we feel bad about it. Moments like those shape us into the people we are. We can see how Evan felt when podcasting didn't work out. They thought this product would be great for people, but Apple's announcement that iTunes would include a podcasting platform stopped them in their tracks. It would have made sense and been perfectly fine to throw in the towel at that point and admit defeat. But that pivot point is where the real journey starts. Evan's choice changed his whole life and the world around him. Evan wasn't the one who came up with the idea for Twitter, but he did lead the employee who did. Evan would have shut down if he had seen the failure as a loss instead of a chance to start over. If they did that, the business would have failed. Jack might have gone on to run Twitter, but Evan would no longer be involved. Through the history of people, his name would be forgotten like a smudge. When something goes wrong, how do you pick yourself up and keep going? You are the answer. You have to make a choice, and will make choices that will shape your path. Don't you want to be successful? The only person who can make your success happen is you. Don't wait for success to find you. You have to go look for it. Failures along the way are what turn things around. An obstacle jumper is a great way to explain this. Runners were going down the track when they came across a hurdle. What did they do? They go up and change direction. We would think there was something wrong with the person if they stopped, looked at the obstacle, and gave up. Likewise, our choices and lives are the same. It's necessary to jump over obstacles and change directions in order to win the race, even though we don't want to. The hurdle jumper doesn't want to change direction at random, and neither do we. We need to keep going up. People who do well in life, like Evan, have goals. You need to set goals and know where you're going to beat them. When you mix your fears with your goals and focus on your fears, they might as well have happened already, because your mind and body will react like when you wake up from a bad dream and think it was real. You'll be sweating, your heart will be racing, and you'll be scared. Don't think about these fears too much. Instead, picture yourself succeeding. Just think about what you'll be doing and how your life will be. Just think about what your daily life would be like. What you think about and picture in your mind about the future helps you get there. You'll be more likely to fail if you worry about everything all the time. Like the flying bugs in the movie Ants who are going to the zapper. They see the light, go to it, and then get shocked. Whatever we think about gets stronger, so keep your mind on your plans and what you want to achieve. There's no doubt that failure can be scary. Failure is something that everyone has done. How are you going to handle failing? You could give up and throw in the towel, but you could also turn things around and keep going. You are the one who decides. Let failure drive you instead of defeating you. Do not let your fear of failing stop you from reaching the top of success. You will fail sometimes. That's just life. It's how you grow and change into the person you're meant to be. Accept failure instead of running away from it. Don't hide in the corner and be afraid. Instead, let it make you stronger and give you the courage to take bigger risks. Do not give up when you fail. It is only a temporary setback. You can go in a different direction and try to achieve something bigger than you ever thought possible. You can use the things that have gone wrong in your life to move forward and create the future you've always dreamed of. You'll see that failure is not something to be afraid of, but something to welcome. It's an important part of the path to success and a key part of living a worthwhile life. Our fears should be based on the fact that we are 3 feet away from gold at all times. This is the best way to keep moving forward. That's right. Now failure is a fear of losing. Our only chance of losing is to stop moving forward in the direction we want to go. We often put the brakes on before we even get off the line because our minds take us to a place called what if. Changing what if to what if I don't will help you move closer to your goals and dreams. A real failure is one that ends in defeat. You're not a failure when you don't give up and wave the white flag. You're someone who is changing their life for the better. Others will see you as wise and able to see through the murky water instead of a failure. Imagine what you want the future to be like. Throw your fears out the window and keep going.